number one factor in your health, your wealth, and your happiness is your relationships. We're designed to be in relationship with people.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And welcome everybody to the Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. We've got another rocking episode. I've got an amazing person here. She is the scientific healer. I mean, she's the rock star healer, I want to say. I've heard so many stories from her. This one, then this one got healed. That one, this happened, and that happened. And she, I love it because she has such passion for the work she does, and she's an amazing guide, healer, whatever, all the things. And I'm really grateful that you're on the show today, Dr. Anastasia, because, people need to know about you.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate being here.
Yeah. All right. So let's tell them more about you. So Dr. Anastasia Chopelas is a physicist, which is amazing. My daughter is going to become a physicist, potentially. She's going to be studying for that. And we've got to talk about that sometime too. Turned
Yes.
energy healer, which became necessary after she became ill, even though she was doing all the right things, right, for her health. And after being sick for a decade, doctors gave up. She discovered by applying her physics research a proven formula that unblocks patterns that keep people stuck or sick. This came after decades of studying the science behind energy and healing. And she's definitely a researcher, right? So Dr. Anastasia helps emotionally intelligent entrepreneurs clear the energetic imprints of trauma, toxic relationships, inherited parents too. Yeah, but patterns. See, that little slip is like exactly right on board. So they can have an experience of true emotional freedom, attract conscious love, and scale their business with soul. Yes. She teaches group programs and has a private healing practice. And today we're going to be talking about one of the favorite subjects in the world, which is getting after the hidden blocks, right? The hidden energy blocks that hold you back from success. And I know it's going to be a big hit, Anastasia, because it always is. It always is. Everybody wants to know, what are the hidden blocks? So,
Well, yeah, so most people aren't aware that they are blocked. They think, oh, I'm good. My last relationship was good. We parted amicably. It's all good. But why isn't my life working?
right, right, right. Everything's fine, but why isn't it working? Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we do talk to X amount of people like that in our lives. They're saying they're fine, but then they turn around and say they're totally not fine. But I think that's just a natural or condition, not natural, I guess. Condition reflex, right? I'm fine. Leave me alone. I think maybe it's part of it. I don't know. Why do you think people say that? Oh, I'm fine.
Well, I think it's because they're used to the misery and don't know that it can be different. I know that was the case for me. I was under a lot of stress and wasn't even aware of it.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until my mom sent me this book called Men Who Hate Women and the Women Who Love Them. And
Ah,
I took a little quiz in there and I answered yes to 9 out of the 10 questions. And it said at the bottom, if you've answered yes to 2 or more questions, you are in a lot of emotional pain. And I'm sitting there going like, what? Really?
right, right. It's an eye opener, isn't it? It's like
Yeah, it was a real eye opener.
everything's so
So
bad,
then I
right?
reread the book like 3 more times, and then I finally started to see myself in the stories. Like
Right.
they were really horrible stories, and I started to finally go, oh my gosh, that's me.
Wow. So your story starts with, you mentioned, I'm going to backtrack a little bit before we go too much further. I like to weave it sometimes. So you're a physicist and you had this illness that kind of led you into all this work, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So, what happened was that I'd gotten married a second time to who became my children's father. And, he seemed to be a calmer guy than who I had been married to for a very brief time before. And I thought everything was fine. But as time went on, I didn't even realize what an alcoholic is. And he was a classic alcoholic. He was a high functioning alcoholic, but not the kind that gets, drunk every day kind of thing. But he had the alcoholic behaviors. And so if you know anything about 12-step groups, I went to a 12-step group, but and it helped tremendously with the stress that I was under that was causing my body to basically get sick. And I was at one point so sick, I only had 2 good hours a day. But before I got that sick, I was running 6 miles before breakfast. I mean, really running over a hilly. I was leaner than I am now. I ate a very healthy diet. I got my 8 hours of sleep. I had a career that I really loved, doing research at a research institute in Germany. I just loved it there. And and then all of a sudden everything broke down, and I hadn't been sick for 20 years before that, like not even a sniffle. Like I don't get sniffles now
Mhm,
even.
mhm,
And so I ended up with a large tumor and high blood pressure and high cholesterol and a whole bunch of other minor things like skin condition and sore joints. And I'm going like, why am I so sick? Like I was
mhm.
down in bed more than I was upright in my 42nd year.
Wow.
And what happened is the 12-step group I was going to, which is called Al Anon, that's the Friends and Family of Alcoholics. There were a bunch of holistic type people, and one was a Reiki master, another one was a shiatsu person, another one was a foot reflexologist, and one of them, so I got to know them. They were super nice ladies. And one of them says, "Oh, you need to come to a Reiki class." And I'm going, "A Reiki? What's Reiki?"
Mhm,
I had no clue. She says, "Yeah, don't worry about it. Just come." And so I go there, and they told us about healing and, running energy and all of that. And I'm going like, hmm. So they put blindfold on us, and they asked, "Oh, well, we're going to trace stuff in your aura. What shape am I doing?" And I'm going like, duh, can't you feel that? That's like so obvious.
mhm,
So, so then everybody was like blown away. It's like there were 12 people in the room. Everybody was blown away that it was so obvious to me. And I'm going, oh, maybe there is something to it. But and so I started practicing it, and and I went to the other ladies, and they did the shiatsu massage and the foot reflexology. I was going to a homeopath, and I started to feel better and better and better. And then I realized that I could move a lot of energy myself. And I had some really amazing experiences during that time that just showed me how much of a telepath I am. Like some people, I can hear all of their thoughts, and like they'd say, guess what number I'm thinking from 1 to 100," and I'd get it right. you know so
yeah.
it kind of freaked people out.
Did it freak you out at the time?
No, I heard it in my head.
Ah.
Like, and the one guy says to me, "Well, I wasn't thinking of 55." I said, "Yeah, I heard 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5." And he goes, "Oh my gosh."
Cool.
So, so then uh it just went from there, and I started to get better and better and better. And I then dove into food allergies, and uh, understanding how healing works from the quantum physics point of view. Like I would describe it to people, like they say, how can distant healing work? And I said, well, in quantum physics, when you solve an equation for the energy of a system, you have to solve from zero, distance zero to infinity. So that means that everything matters in the entire universe for solving for your energy. And that, how does that work? Well, okay, so in quantum physics, when something changes state, meaning it goes from one energetic state to another energetic state, there's no known path and it's instantaneous. Like you
Mm.
can't see, like if an electron goes from one state to another, you can't see how it got there.
Right,
It just winks out of existence here and it winks back into existence there. And I go, oh, that's just like healing.
right.
So, so then all of these things started to come together, and I did a lot of healing and got better, but I needed to keep my I got a professorship after I left Germany in the US, and I worked as a professor in the physics department at UNLV in Las Vegas and at University of Washington in Seattle, and then later at UCLA as a researcher. So, so I had to complete that because I had two children to raise, and I was a little insecure about starting a business like that. And then at one point I said, okay, I'm done. And I retired at age 60 and said, okay, I'm going to hang my shingle out to do some healing. And in a 2 week period, I earned $3,000 just from healing sessions. And
Mm,
I started to systematize it because I have a scientist mind. So I started to systematize how to do it in the way that I did it. And I started adding like scientific components, like using color filters, here in your mind, color filters, like certain colors, like this blue color that I'm wearing is
mhm,
a protective color for us. And there's a reason, because of the way blue filters light, for example.
mm,
And then I started putting waves of activity on. So, for example, if you want to sleep and sleep longer, you want to raise your melatonin level while during the day. You want to raise it in the evening and then let it drop off in the morning. So you'll wake up refreshed and then start the adrenal flowing in the morning and then bring it down in the evening so you can sleep better. And people started improving their sleep cycles by doing that. Like
mm,
one lady, she had taken melatonin for 28 years, and I did a healing on her and I said, try going to sleep without it. And she did. And then she continued to sleep without it without needing it anymore.
mm,
So it helped regulate her sleep cycle. And there are a number of people that I've done this with to regulate their sleep cycle. So I started adding little scientific components to
mm,
the healing. And so now I call that scientific healing. I have many processes that I've added, including like an energetic stem cell therapy and energetic timeline therapy to help change things. And the thing that I noticed is before, when I was just doing Reiki or standard energy healing, it felt slow to me. And this accelerated the results and also helped make them last longer.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today.
mhm. Right, right. Wow. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Utilizing your background, with physics and having that kind of, mind, think that thinks in that way, and then like, okay, like utilizing that same capacity and some of the knowledge too from that, to translate that into healing is really cool. So, because there's so many things with physics that are seem like they're known, but then they're not, right? So I don't know.
Well, actually, the two most common things, gravity and light,
Uh-huh.
are not explainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still unknowns. We just know they are. We have all the equations to describe them, but we really don't know how they work.
Right. There's some people say that gravity isn't real, that it's right. There's people that say all kinds of things, and scientific people even that say that it's not real. It's an effect that's real, but the way people say it works is not true. And they got all, that's a whole nother show, but like that I don't have the knowledge to talk about. But I just know like there's always these disputes. The thing we can't dispute is like when someone's not feeling well or they're struggling with something in their life and they go through a process like that you offer and they come to the other side and they have all these results. Well, it's very observable. I mean, it happened. Something happened. Something changed where now
Yeah.
they're sleeping well at night. Their businesses.
Well, not only that, but their blood tests will change, or if they're hooked up to a meter, like I had a gentleman who was in a coma, who had been T-boned. Well, he was on a bicycle and a truck had T-boned him, and he was in a coma and had a broken arm and leg, and the doctor said he wasn't going to survive. And my mom uh, we've known this family since probably in the late 60s, right? So we've known this family a really long time. And my mom says, "Do you think you could heal John?" And I'm going, uh, "That's a big, tall order. Like that scared me. Like it
Mhm.
scared me to feel responsible
Right.
for
Right.
somebody's coming out of this coma." And so I went to the hospital. It was here local. I went to the hospital and he was hooked up to everything. He was in the ICU. And uh, I, when I walked in, I was like, my heart was pounding. But then as soon as I got in there, everything calmed down and I could see his spirit floating above him. And I said, "John, back in the body." "No, no, that body's trashed. I'm out of here," is what I heard him say.
Mhm.
And I said, "No, you have to get back in." He says, "Why?" And I said, "Because you'll have to live through the same garbage you've lived through in this lifetime if
Right.
you don't
Right.
fix it." And
Right.
he goes, "Oh." And so he got back in. And then I measured what I have a thing that I call it's the energy of life, like how attached they are to their body. I call it a life score. So it was under 10%, which means that death is imminent. And I like to so it drops as we age. Like a 60-year-old will have a 60%, meaning they have a chance of leaving this earth, of the spirit leaving the body really quickly. And as you age, like an 80-year-old will have like a 40%. And I raise that, I reattach the spirit to the body. And so I was doing this every day with him, just kept reattaching him, kept raising the energy of his brain. Oh, so the story I was going to tell was that while I was in the room, he was attached to all these meters and dials and everything, and there was alarms ringing, and I'm going like, what the heck are those? And as I started pulling the energy down and sending it into his body, all the dials shifted and the bells stopped ringing. So there was a actual measurable effect of what I was doing. And one of them that dropped from 21 to 6 was his intracranial pressure, which I didn't know. It said ICP on it, so I looked it up. And it dropped and the bells stopped ringing. And I thought, wow, that's like instant feedback that I'm actually doing something. But I've also had people that have diabetes, like type 2 diabetes, and I run a healing on them, and then their blood sugar levels drop dramatically.
Yeah.
So you can get instant feedback on these. And I did a healing on my dad. He had something called hemochromatosis, which is common in older men. They end up with too much heme iron in the body, and then it attaches to the different organs like the heart and the liver and the gallbladder, and the function starts to decline. and he was having very high heme levels. And so he spent 2 years on a medication, a really noxious medication to try and drop it. So it went from 3,000 down to 1,000, and healthy is 100 and below. So it took 2 years to get from 3,000 to 1,000, and the medicine normally costs $2,000 a month. It's like really expensive stuff. But because he was a senior citizen, he got it a lot less, but he hated how he felt on it. So I ran a healing on him, and he went back to the doctor like a month later to have a blood test, and it went from 1,000 to 100 in that time. The doctor says, I've never seen anything like this. Like, what just happened? And
Right.
my my dad says, oh, I think my daughter did some kind of voodoo on me.
It's just a voodoo thing. I'm good now. So, I
Yeah,
mean, so this is
and they
examples, like these are the measurable examples. That's what I told you guys. She's got, we could keep her here for hours. She's got endless examples.
I
So
do.
I've spent almost hours with her, I feel like. So through these years, I have known her for a while. We haven't, you know,
Yeah, it's been
met
about 10 years.
we've met enough times for me to heard a few of the stories. And sometimes I'm like, I've heard this one before, so not to it, but yeah, she's got a lot of different examples. And so what's really cool is that that it's replicable too. It's one of those things. It's not like, yeah, you're gifted, you get the telepathic thing, which I just want to take a minute to focus on that one. The telepathic stuff, yeah, I've done that. I don't know if I told you this story about, yeah, it was my little daughter once. I'm like, yeah, we can read each other's minds. I says, imagine something. And I says, she imagined something. I says, oh, you're thinking of a pink little My Little Pony or whatever thing. And she's like, wait a minute, how do you know that? And then I'm like, I can tune into it. And then she wanted to test me a million times. And then I just, I couldn't even focus. And I was just like, okay, now it's C feels weird. So I couldn't replicate it right away for her. And then she's like, well, there's something to it at least. Then she understood that at least. So that was good. But my point is, I've had, and then me being the energy scanner guy and all that, which I'll do a couple of downloads for our guest today later in the show. So stick around for that, guys. There's more and more excitement ahead. But my point is, like, I wanted to get this one story because I've had all kinds of experiences like you. And one of the experiences I had though was I was on a silent meditation retreat, and we should turn the volume down really, really low inside. Like all of a sudden, like I was at a lunch table, I could hear every single person's thought, like they were talking at a lunch table. Like I mean, like they were literally like all there. And even though they were in silent meditation, I could still hear them talking. I'm like, shh. So I mean, that was a trippy experience. I actually had to say like stop because it was at the time bothering me. I'm like, stop, that's too much. But it was one of those, very interesting experiences of how we're just trained to use words and to talk and everything. But we didn't, we would open up to these senses. We'd be like totally telepathic. I'm sure there's tribes that,
Yeah, and there's not just the people that are alive, but it's also the people that have passed that
yeah,
they
yeah,
can invade your thoughts.
totally. Totally.
Yeah, and my
Yeah.
brother had an experience where he went to a funeral, and all he heard this loud screaming in his ears, tell her I'm right here, I'm right here. No, just tell her I'm right here. And he just said, I'm not telling her anything. She's there grieving for you. No, tell her I'm right here. I'm okay. It's like, no, he didn't want that experience. So he turned it off.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, we have to put in the boundaries or whatever you want to say, like the guardrails. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, supposedly, if you just process everything, you fully awaken, and then nothing ever bothers you again, and all this nonsense. I don't fully believe in that stuff personally, but there's a lot you can open. That's why it's important as we're opening up our field that we do it in a way that we can digest. And I think, that's what's important with the kind of work you do, because you're you get that, you're approaching it in a way where people can digest it, not going into healing crises or melting down. I know, like, some of the healings I did early on, like, I'd be like so into, I wanted to experience the power of doing healing. I was like, I'll bring in the super stuff, and then people wouldn't go to the hospital. It wasn't that bad, but like people, like literally repeatedly, people are like, I've been in the bathroom all week long. And it wasn't just random. It was like really predictable. And I was like, okay, well, what if I don't have to have them go, I don't have to prove that to myself to have a visible sign like that, let's take that part away. So
Yeah, sending someone into a healing crisis, it's for me, it was scary when that happened to me. So now I'm careful and I approach it incrementally
yes, yes,
so the
yes.
body doesn't get overwhelmed because you can try to detox stuff out of somebody and
Mhm.
it can happen really well, and then they're rashy and in pain and they can't do anything anymore, and I'd rather do it gently. And like some people, they can only take 10 to 15 minutes of the work I do on them.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
now I don't do anything more than half an hour because it's like I can hear their body going, okay, enough.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of shifting. So yeah, it's a lot to yeah, so it's a way of approaching. So now I know one of the things we wanted to talk about are like these hidden blocks that keep people from success and stuff. So you work with various people in business and healers in business, right? And so what are some of the hidden blocks that you do run into with people that are looking to run a business and succeed in a business?
Well, the number one factor in your health, your wealth, and your happiness is your relationships. We're designed to be in relationship with people. And, when you're saying everything's clear and you're all enlightened and stuff, that doesn't happen when you're in relationship with people. Because if you're at that enlightened level, you're just like sort of humming along and nothing matters, you're all good. And I so the relationship is where the difficulties fall. And you may even think that you've resolved a relationship. Like I've had people that says, "Oh yeah, we parted amicably, everything was great," but somehow there was an energetic cord connected to that person, and they either draw most of the time they draw your energy off because we as healers and empaths and highly sensitive people and having these abilities being fairly clear, people see our energy and they glom on to us and draw it down. So the lot of the people I work with are kind of conscious entrepreneurs, uh, heart-centered, those kind of people, and they're more sensitive to those relationships. So if they can even have had a message when they were younger that their mother or father said, like they say, "Oh, look, I drew this really beautiful picture, is it looks like art," and then they'd say, "Oh, that's not art." I got that. That's
Right.
not art. So then I hesitated to draw and paint and it wasn't until I turned 50 that I started drawing and painting. And some of these back here are my paintings. I have
Right.
paintings all over the house from my family, my mom, my daughter, my brother, me. So we have there's only art from the family in the house, but you get these messages or you'll never be happy when you grow up because you're way too selfish. You'll get that message, so then it gets stuck in your body and you don't even know it because you've forgotten it. You go along with your business and you wonder, why am I not happy? Like everything's going my way, why aren't I happy? And it's that kind of block. So what I do is I clear out the old relationship connections, and I do it in such a way, like I tell people I do a relationship healing. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to stay connected to my mom. I want to stay connected to my partner. I want to stay connected to my sister. And I go, no, it does not change the love between you and them. That connection never changes. That connection from your heart to their heart, that pure, unconditional love. What changes is the expectations between you. So you remove all the old expectations, all the old messages. You wipe the slate clean, and now you're starting fresh. And when I do that, I've had so many, especially entrepreneurs, so many entrepreneurs. One lady came and told me, Anastasia, I haven't gotten any new clients in 6 months. I've had this business for 30 years, and her business was a relationship healing business.
Mm.
And so when I got on the phone with her, I said, well, let's figure out what it is. So I went through my usual routine. It's
Mhm.
kind of like energy scanning.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, it's a relationship. She goes, oh, well, is it Bill? I said, no. She says, is it Bob? I said, no. She says, well, it can't be Roger. We parted amicably. So I said, listen, it's not going to hurt to clear that energy out. So let's try it. So I cleared his energy. I have a 4-step process that I go through to help refresh that relationship. I cleared it out, and she calls me 2 hours later. She goes, you will not believe what just happened. 6 new clients signed up with me. I said,
Uh,
well, that worked fast, didn't it? And I said, so Roger was holding your business hostage for 6 months. And, all that you have to do is think of them. And if you're thinking of them and it's not neutral, or it's not a happy thought or a gratitude thought, that connection then is unhealthy, and we need to remove it. So if you think of an ex, and as soon as you think of them, you go, oh, that was a heavy relationship. That was hard. No, each relationship is a gift. It-
Mhm.
Even if it's miserable, it's a gift. You got something out of it, and figuring out what the gift was and being able to move forward with ease and grace after that, that's the healthy result. Like
Right.
all of the difficult relationships that I've had, I've done healings on all of them, and now they've all been gifts for me. And now all of I don't have a single crappy relationship. In fact,
Yep.
I was walking home from taking my grandson to school this morning, and I'm walking by this woman, and she's got 2 little dogs. So I kind of wrap around her, got jump down into the street, wrap around her. And one of them was a Chihuahua. And if you know anything about Chihuahuas, they are German Shepherds in a Chihuahua suit. And Chihuahua bit my calf and drew blood. And I turn around and I go, wow, your dog just drew blood. She goes, oh my God. And then we started talking, and we became instant friends because she's also a healer and a psychic, out
Wow.
of all things. So
Wow.
the getting the bite in the calf was the gift
Right, right, right,
because we met.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that yeah, there's some cultures like I'll never forget one of my teachers. She said she was in India and she did something in the room that created a fire or something, and wherever she was staying at somebody else's place, and there a fire, broke out and it was starting to destroy the place. They all got out safe, but then they had to put it out, whatever. So, but I know at the end, I remember this part of the story. They're out there and she said, oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I did this. Or, I'm so sorry. And they were laughing. These people were actually laughing. They're like, no, this is what's meant to happen. So this was meant to happen, and this is great. This is a great thing. And like they instantly went to gratitude, like they did in a way that was totally natural to them. Everything's a miracle. Everything's a gift, and like their place is being burned down. They're still like, oh yeah, no, it's the way it's supposed to be. it's unheard of,
Well,
for the
they
most.
probably are thinking, oh, we get to do it all over again, but
Right,
new,
right, right,
better,
right.
and
Right. We get to bring in new energy, new things, or whatever, right? It's like oh, cool. This is what's meant to be. And so yeah, I mean, that everything can be a gift, and yeah, there's definitely things that I think we all could think about, like, oh, I'm kind of holding a little bit of energy on this one or that one, or lots of them, right? Like, come up with a whole long list of ones you're holding energy around, right? And it's all about the sense of well, I just can't get past the fact they did X, Y, Z or whatever it is, right?
yeah, like, oh, why did, so an example is I have a client, longtime client who, when I first met her, she had just gotten divorced from a 30-year marriage. And her husband basically took everything in the marriage. He hid assets, he did things. And so she was really angry about it. And I said, yeah, that kind of happened to me too. My husband got 50% more than I did. And you know what I said? She goes, what? That's okay. It's just money. I don't care. I'm happy. It's like, if you sit there and you fume about whatever is going on, what you're doing is you're reforming an unhealthy cord to that person, and you're starting to exchange poopy energy with them, stuff that's going to make you feel bad. So every time you think of someone and you're feeling terrible about whatever it is, that will draw your energy down, throw you out of alignment,
Mhm.
and you won't be able to do your best work.
Right.
And aside from that, the anger and the bad feelings, it's like spraying people repellent on you. It'll repel the people that you want to attract.
Mm. Because what you're consciously think is, I'm just repelling everybody I don't want. Like, let's get rid of all those people. And like, I have someone in my life, I won't leave them nameless. They know who they are, but who just declared not too long ago, everybody that's upsetting me, I mean, more or less, I'm exaggerating just slightly. Everybody in my life that's upsetting me, screw it. I'm not done with that nonsense. I'm just gonna get rid of them all. Like, basically, I mean, literally, like, I just cut them all out, and then that way everything will be fine. But
Well, that person is probably hating themselves, and so they can't love anybody else because, so the first step to loving, to accepting other people is accepting yourself, right?
yeah,
The first step. And if you look in the mirror and you go, I don't like that, and oh, that, and oh, I'm getting old, and look at all these wrinkles, and yeah, I've got a big saggy belly, and my arm is flapping around, and you're looking at yourself and you're not accepting that this is who you are, then you're not going to accept anybody else. You're going to look at everybody else's flaws too. And
mm.
that's probably what's happening with that person. In fact, that's exactly, I'm reading that energy now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with lack of self-love, I would definitely say that totally resonates with that. So
That's another hidden block.
it's, yeah, because she probably doesn't see it that way. Actually, this is good for me. Because literally she says, I actually feel better than ever. She keeps saying that. But it's funny how people have to keep repeating themselves if it's that true, right? Like, it's that whole
Yeah,
thing. I'm
because they're
just fine.
trying
I'm
to.
just fine. I'm actually happier. No, Anastasia, don't tell me that nonsense. I love myself more than ever. But then
Yeah,
why do you have to
she's
keep trying to prove it?
she's trying to convince.
Right. It's like you kind of convinced me too much. Is how I look at it. So, but yeah, you wouldn't think. You'd think like, I got him out of my life. I just don't want all that nonsense in my life. Yeah, I'm still bitter, but I'm okay. And like, you don't think that's affecting you, but then when we really think about it, like, that's powerful energy. Like, that's going to totally affect you.
Yes, it is, because it will, it'll lower your vibe or your frequency, right? The correct physics term is frequency. And what we know from frequency, from research by the measurements of your bioelectric field, is that the lower your frequency is, you're less happy, you're less healthy, so your emotions will guide that frequency. And you can lower it by being angry at everything, but you can raise it by meditation. You can raise it by even putting a smile on your face and straightening your spine up. There's so many simple things that you could do to raise your frequency. You can listen to classical music, you can dance, you can draw some, paint a picture, do something fun, and that will raise your frequency right away.
Yeah.
And by getting into the happy zone, not the happy zone, meaning you're putting a fake smile on your face and saying, I'm happy. How are you? I'm fine. And then and then you can feel like I can feel when somebody's got anger underneath, it feels like itching powder on my skin. And you go, how are you? Fine.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, I would walk in to one boyfriend I had. I walked in the room and I felt like all icky everywhere, and I go, what's going on? Nothing. I'm
I
going,
think I'm
okay.
pretty good. I mean, every single person in my life, probably not all the time, but like I'm pretty good at just telling people. Probably they don't want to hear it sometimes, but I'll be like, well, I'm kind of feeling like this. It's not always like I just say like I'm fine or I'm happy or I'm great all the time. Like I tend to just be more real. Um, Whereas I could say, of course, I'm awesome. Everything's always awesome, and that's true, right? But like I like to I've experimented with all that stuff, right? Oh, I'll just try to just be in a positive mood, period. But then again, it's like there's a power to just acknowledging how you're feeling. You don't have to, you know,
Well,
just
every emotion has a purpose,
yeah.
right? Anger is a way for it to inform you that your boundaries are being trespassed over,
Mhm.
right? That's somebody has invaded your boundary. They're reaching, I envision it this way. They're reaching into my pocket and taking my stuff away without my permission. That's
Mm.
boundary overreach, right? So
Mm.
uh, anger is a signal that that's happened. And so instead of going, I'm really angry right now, is acknowledging the anger and going, okay, why am I feeling angry? Like what's happened in that situation? So those what I call low vibe emotions, jealousy, anger, shame, guilt, sorrow, all of these emotions, they're there for a purpose. They're informing you of what's happening in your life and that things that need to be taken care of, not that you need to stay in that situation and stew in it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the reason why we're focusing on this is because it sounds like a lot of what you work on is for people to have new results, like whether it's business or something else, to have more success, is these hidden relationships situations, right? Now with people, but you mentioned, but how about other things like unresolved grief? You got your relationship with things, so-called things, or energy, other energies like money or whatever. Like you got all those
Well, right, there are all those too. So unresolved grief, it's to me, I lost both my parents and not that long of a time ago. My dad was 3 years ago, and I get reminded all the time because I'm living in my childhood house here. So there's pieces of them everywhere. And at the beginning, it was like I'd look at something and be like painful, oh, I miss them so much.
things.
But but now when I see something that I love about being in this house, then or I see a picture, I just say, "Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I'm so happy that you left this beautiful house for me to live in," right? And being grateful for it, and I feel something back with that. But the grief is hanging on to something when you should be moving forward. Like, I don't want to say should, but it's the
Mhm.
inability to move forward. And so the
Mhm.
grief can be actually released pretty quickly, right?
Mhm.
there's a process to release emotions
Mhm.
because the emotions run on your meridians and the meridians are all different lengths. So different parts, different meridians will hold different emotions. For example, the liver meridian will hold rage and the gallbladder meridian will hold anger. And, we go through that. The lung meridian will hold grief, but it also holds love and joy.
Mm.
So what we want to do is send the vibe into the next, what do you call the next octave or the
Right.
next, right?
Yeah.
Pushing it into the next octave. So it vibrates in multiples. And so by not resolving the grief, and it's not like, you can go to a talk therapist and talk about it over and over and over again, but it doesn't resolve because all you do is you just keep bringing it up over and over and it
Right.
kind of grinds it into your energy system in a negative way. But being able to release it quickly
Mm-hmm.
is extremely powerful. I've worked with a number of people. Like one woman, she had been married only 3 years or so, and her husband, from one day to the next, basically collapsed and died. And and she really loved him and she missed him. And we worked together and after about 3 months, she was able to go about her life and look forward to her life without him.
Mm-hmm.
And she went through my full certification program and is now thriving with having, she's a homeopath, works with homeopathy, and also works with healing together. And she's thriving in her business. And she's one of those that I removed all of the fog that is preventing her from seeing, and all of a sudden everything lit up in color. Like when she looks at people, she sees colors everywhere.
Cool. Cool. I
Yeah.
love that. I love when people see all the colors. Like
Yeah, I
I'm,
see them in my head, not visually, but she was
yeah,
seeing them
yeah,
visually.
right, yeah, yeah. If I were to see it, it'd be more internally, if even that. Like as much like I'm known as this energy scan person, but I just honestly, again, it's like one of those things I could say, okay, I want to see that now, and then I would, but it's like that's not it's not automatic for me. I haven't, and it's one of those things like people say, but I don't see the colors, or I'm not clairvoyant, or I'm not this. I always tell them when I'm doing the training, I'm like, you don't need it, you don't need it, you don't need it. If you want it, we could have it, we could train that, we could train it, but you don't have to have it. You just as long as you know kind of what's pretty
Yeah,
clearly,
you
you're
can you
gonna
can
be fine.
visualize or you'll get like a message in your mind. That's the same thing.
Yeah, you'll get it
You
one way
can
or
even muscle test. Muscle testing is a way of, your internal system being able to check what's going on around you.
yeah, yeah. And so
There's,
you train people to do this work too, which is really
I do.
important. That you can actually, that's what I said, what's so cool about replicating. That's why I love, what I do too, is because I can replicate with a scan, I could help people replicate it. Like, okay, you can do it too, rather than just being impressed by what I'm doing. You could do it too, and you do the same with with your work as well, and that also can help people to thrive too, because you're gonna give them a lot of tools that help them have confidence if they want to do that as a business to be a healer themselves, right?
Yeah,
So
and some people they just come through because they love they become empowered. I had one lady who came in with breast cancer and left healthy.
mm-hmm.
And without surgery. She left healthy. She didn't need the surgery. And there are other people that come in with miserable marriages and don't see a way out. And within 2 or 3 months of being in the program, all of a sudden things start to resolve. Either the marriage gets better or they go their separate ways amicably and things work out. Two ladies that I'm thinking of, they each created amazing businesses afterwards.
That's great. That's great. So I know you have a free gift for everybody. That sounds really cool. So do you want to share that with everybody now?
Yes, so the free gift is the 10 signs you have unresolved baggage that's preventing your business success. And you find it by going to Healers U. So it's HEALERSU.com/hidden to find your 10 hidden. So there are just 10, there's 10 of them. And it will help you figure out, do you need, there's enough information on those 10 signs that'll help you decide whether you need to do something. Because like I mentioned earlier, is that I had no idea I was miserable until, and then what's interesting is you don't know what life could hold for you until you're past that and you've changed in dramatic ways, like I have. You've changed in dramatic ways. And I think to who I was back then and how ill I was. And oh man. So just for people to know, I'm 72 now. So yeah, so I'm still super healthy, no medication, and I have, energy for days.
Right. Tons of energy. Yeah. That's fantastic. Phenomenal. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. I'm like, yeah, she got started at 60, right? So look at you. You got, we've had people on that are in their 80s and they look very youthful. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
all these ideas, like, you
two
know,
things that look good on people. Number one is happiness, right? Being joyful,
yeah,
happiness, grateful, and number two is energy, makes all the difference.
right. So everybody check out that gift. We'll put it in the links below or the text below or whatever may be the case. Wherever you are, it'll be
The
down in the
show notes.
the show notes. Yeah. So because we show up on all these different platforms. So and if you are not there, we'll also put on the screen to the URL to check that out. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and transition to the energy scan segment where I do a quick energy scan, some downloads that I'm getting for Anastasia. She'll know what I'm tuning into because she's telepathic, but that'll make it even funner. So Anastasia, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let's see what comes through. All right, and guys, listen in closely because what I share, this happens all the time when I do scans. When people are listening in, they're like, wow, I needed to hear that too, or that's a true for me, or whatever, right? So let's just see what comes through. First thing I get is that joy, right? You're like, I'm excited. This is fun. So that's the
Yeah, I
first,
can feel you in me. I
right?
can feel your energy here.
Yeah. And you've got like you got that connection with like the all, like the flow of energy. I see like the heart's connected to like they're showing me the clouds and everything. So it's just like, wow, we get to experience all this fun down here on Earth. So you definitely have that. Someone recently called me this too, but you do have like that Earth Angel sort of signature about you. And but we we're here. We're like, this is fun though. We want to be doing this. We could be on the other side, but it's fun to be here doing this. Let's see what other things want to come through. Yeah, I mean, just something like a wiggly niggly. Like I always look for those. I see a lot of good energy. I just see a little wiggly niggly in the around in the like the I want to say the brain, and most I mean, so it's like I'm getting nitpicky or whatever about what I say, but it's just sort of like I'm not in area. There are certain areas where you're a very confident person, but there are certain areas where you're like, I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure about that. Like I get like this feeling like we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure this out, and I get this kind of thing, like that kind of thing. So,
Oh yeah, the gears are always going.
yeah, exactly. So I was just seeing that, and I'm like, that's a gift, but it may make you feel heavy at times. I could see that happening, like get a little frustrated, but no, I'm fine. So anyway, just notice that about that energy. But that's a superpower at the same time because it will not release until, and then mostly it probably feels good, but I'm just saying like it won't release until like we get there, so to speak. Like, oh, we got it now. Okay, we got it. So that's really cool. Not that you don't have the ability to step away and all, I get it, but like at some level it's still working on it, right? So I'll just
Well, yeah, it's always when I was doing my scientific research, I'd go in the lab, get results out, and then they didn't make any sense.
Mhm.
So it's just like I'd put it on the back burner, I'd go out for a jog, and then I'd just sort of free float on it and come back and I'd have the answer. And so all of my colleagues would say, "Where do you come up with these ideas?" Oh, yeah, they just come to me.
Right, right. Well, you're able to
Like,
translate like from the spiritual into the physical, not only through energy but through articulation. So, I mean, you have all these kind of capacities to translate it. So that makes you pretty unique. So some people, right? They're connected. They're like, "Oh yeah, play with the angels all day." Well, tell me more about it. Well, it's kind of like, they may not have a hard time translating what it's all about, right? Whereas you're a very good teacher, you can translate those things and teach people very easily, make it understandable to people, very practical, right? So I really love that.
yeah, because some of the things I talked about today were fairly high level, but I said them in a real simple way.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So the most remarkable thing I'll say about your energy, again, if I deep dive and everything, I could go deeper and deep. Like I see stuff in your neck, like I can keep going to the contracted energies. So there could be some limiting forces. And then I'm going to say the other thing I was going to say. I see some limiting forces that would kind of keep you in certain alignments that may be a little bit restrictive in terms of what's possible for maybe more growth for your business, et cetera. It's kind of like, no, no, focus here, focus here. And so there's something now we dig into it more, as you know, we could see, okay, that's what it is, right? What's creating that, but I just want to bring attention to that today. We can talk about it more later if you want to. But the other thing I was going to say before I said that, because I was going to say overall, it's like you're one of those, one of the people that has much more clean, open, flowing energy. Like I can just like tell people like she's for real. Like I can read the energy, right? Tell you it's for real. It's not like she's a mess. Like yeah, I'm doing good. And no, it's not like that. She's really doing well. She's got a lot of good energy going on. We all got something going on in there that wants more attention, of course. So including your cat there.
Oh, yeah, he's my cat. Like I adopted him in June of last year,
Nice.
and he was probably 6 months old at that point,
Mm,
and he just immediately glommed onto me, and so he's my cat.
mm, mhm,
And he accompanies me all day long.
mhm.
And he's very attached, as you can see. Like he was meowing, and he wouldn't stop unless I picked him up. I think every healer needs a cat.
Yeah, I happen to have a cat.
Yeah, they are multidimensional beings.
Yeah,
They can see spirits, and
yes.
sometimes they'll chase you. They'll start running around like
Like,
crazy.
what's going on? Why are you running around so much? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
the cat zoomies, they're actually
Yeah.
chasing stuff. And so I run back and forth through the house with them because I have a very long house. It goes way back and way forward.
Mhm.
And when I was taking care of my dad, I could put 10,000 steps in the house just alone.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. Especially running around after those cats.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good energy there. I think there is some more, hey, I'm Greek too. Right? We're both Greek. That's one of the things that we found about each other. But like, there's certainly like the cultural conditionings that we get and whatnot. Some of it's lovely, but it's also still with ideas. Well, it's
Yeah,
like that.
there's limits. There's limiting beliefs in that. Yes.
So anyway, so those are some things I noticed, and just want to share that with you and have fun with you in the audience. So guys, if you want to check out more with Energy Scan, get your own Energy Scan, come to my next Energy Scan training preview call. We'll put in the link down in the show notes for that as well. I do practice energy scans, or not practice, but like demos is what I'm trying to say. Demos with you, where you get to experience it. And then if you want to learn how to do it for yourself, you can. I talk about that as well during that preview call. So check out the link below. And also, if you're like, well, I don't know, that sounds cool, or it sounds like, I don't know if I want to do that. Yeah, that's a little intimidating or whatever. I also have another gift though for you. So you can get the Meditate and Make Money free meditation by going to yoursacredpurpose.com. You'll see the link down below, and it will definitely bring you in a greater state of connection and have you listen to your guides and help to, just like open and activate you to the possibilities for more abundance in your life, in your business particularly. So
Yeah,
check.
because we are actually limitless beings,
That's true.
right? There are no limits, and the limit is only what you place on yourself.
Yeah.
And a lot of those limits are subconscious. So by doing that meditation, it makes the subconscious conscious, allows
Yeah.
you to.
Yeah. There's so many possibilities, but we're so busy. Like I never forget that image, and one of the things that I have, like they're like, so you're like looking for a key at the bottom of a pond. Do you ever hear one of those meditations? And you're looking around so hard and you're looking for that key because it's so important. You need the key. And then you get still and you wait. And all the dirt goes to the bottom. All of a sudden, there it is. There's a golden key. Because we don't get still enough to be able to hear the hallelujah and the answers that we're looking for. So the meditation helps you with that for sure. So, okay, well, Anastasia, I'm going to give you the last words. So any last words of wisdom for everybody?
Last words. You're more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Yes, and so it is. Amen. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Anastasia, for being on the show today. It's an awesome pleasure and honor to have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you, Daniel, so much for having me. It's been totally a blast.
And thank you to all our listeners. Keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time. For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.